As expected, following the acquittal in the Senate impeachment trial, Donald Trump has now turned to punishing his political opponents, his political enemies. It's reported that Trump will begin purging Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman from the National Security Council. Now, he is the aide, of course, that testified during the House Democrats' impeachment hearings. Now, according to the Washington Post, sources say that Vindman will be removed from the National Security Council and will be assigned to a position inside the Defense Department. So it's not exactly he's fired completely, but they're basically getting him out of the way. Like, no, you're not going to be part of this council anymore. We're going to move you somewhere else in the Defense Department and then maybe get rid of you later. Now, according to the Washington Post, Vindman had already informed officials at the National Security Council that he intended to leave his post anyway by the end of the month. However, Trump will move him before that. So now that's interesting, right? So he already says, look, I'm going to leave anyway, right? I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go to the Defense Department. I got to get away from this guy. Trump says, no, you're not going to leave at the end of the month. You're going to leave now. Like, get out. I think it's this petty way of course, getting revenge. Oh, you can't quit. I'm going to fire you. Except it's not necessarily firing, but certainly seems like it's a demotion, perhaps. So it is some revenge, right? And you're going after the guy that had the balls to testify against you, and that's what this is. And that's not all, of course, because as I told you before, Donald Trump is extremely petty. Now, according to that same report, Trump has mocked Vindman in private and has discussed removing other national security officials that testified in the impeachment hearings, according to sources. So it is a literal purge of disloyal officials. Not disloyal to the United States, which they're supposed to serve, but disloyal to Donald Trump. And that's what's going on, right? He is removing any and all obstacles to his rule. That is fascism. That is very fascistic. And so he's basically using whatever power he can to punish his political opponents. And again, any of his opponents are basically anybody who dares to speak out against him. So, I mean, look, there's that, right? And for those he can't fire, by the way, he has other ways of getting to people. He will, of course, use his Twitter account to encourage his supporters to viciously attack those other people. Okay, so we're going to go to that. Case in point, Mitt Romney. So
I don't like people who use their faith as justification for doing what they know is wrong. Nor do I like people who say, I pray for you, when they know that that's not so. So many people have been hurt, and we can't let that go on.
All right, so that's Trump taking a shot at both Nancy Pelosi and Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, of course, making his argument, his vote against, to convict Donald Trump during the impeachment trial. He's trying to make a faith argument based on that, a moral argument based on that. And so I get it. It is funny how Donald Trump talks about, I don't like it when people do that. But wait, you do that all the time. You use religion on your side, and it's Republican 101, in order to do the wrong thing, to go after, for example, gay people, transgender people in the military, etc. All those sorts of bad faith, literally bad faith arguments used. And so you do that. And now you're going to go after Mitt Romney for doing that, who actually did do the correct thing and the right thing, and the thing that we had hoped that a lot of Republicans would decide to do. Now, of course, all these Republicans are absolute 100% cowards, and they bow down to President Trump, and they kiss his ring, and they kiss his ass, more likely. And so all we had was Mitt Romney. But there's a reason, of course, that these Republicans were afraid, and this is why. Mitt Romney has been attacked viciously afterwards. And not just, again, by President Trump, but by President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who said, we're going to drum this guy out of the party. Let's go. Let's get him out of the party. And, he's not one of us. Oh, no, wait a minute. Mitt Romney is incredibly conservative. So what are you talking about? The problem with Romney is that he's not a Trump cultist. Now, here's the thing. Romney's record, he votes for almost for everything Donald Trump, wants policy-wise. So the only disagreement here, again, because he gives Trump everything he wants, the only disagreement here is how civil they are, right? And so that's the issue. But there's one more here. Trump also went after Romney, and he said, quote, he has no sign of principles. No sign of principles. Look, I think that what Romney did, just like most Republicans, is a little bit self-serving in the end, because he can go and later on and stand up and say, in the post-Trump era, hey, man, look, I was one of the good ones. I stood up against Donald Trump, and I made sure to hold him accountable. So that puts me above pretty much every other Republican, hashtag Mitt 2024, right? I don't know if he's going to run for president again, but I do think that a person who believes that he's going to inherit a planet when he dies would likely have delusions of wanting to run for president. Again, maybe quote me, hear me now, quote me later. I don't know. But that's just my thoughts on that. But look, as far as Trump goes, I think this is only the first phase of getting his revenge. I think he's going to go after everybody who dared speak out against him, because he's an authoritarian, and now he is an empowered authoritarian. And so people like Suzanne Collins, who, had hoped that he had learned his lesson, now regrets saying that because he's obviously not learned his lesson. He's going to go after her too. And he's going after, Mitt Romney, and he's going after everybody else, because at the end of the day, the Republicans don't serve the Constitution. They serve Donald Trump because they are the party of Trump. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.